Buddhism is an ancient tradition with answers to life's biggest questions today. Why do we suffer? How do we relate to other beings? And how do we make the world a happier and more peaceful place for everyone? Our mission at BDK America is to help people understand Buddhism better. Are you looking to start learning about Buddhism or dig deeper? BDK America offers free books and videos for peoples of all ages and levels. Our most popular book, The Teaching of Buddha, is available to read in English and 46 other languages in physical, PDF, and audiobook formats. Visit our website for our latest publications and order your own free copy today.
In our last show, we discussed Vipassana meditation that comes to us from Southeast Asia. Today, I would like to focus on the teachings of Jodo Shinshu, a tradition that comes to us from Japan and one that is part of the Mahayana branch of Buddhism. Jodo Shinshu, also known as Shin or Shinshu or Pure Land, also happens to be the tradition in which I was ordained, hence this robe I'm wearing today. This is a robe that Jodo Shinshu priests in the United States wear for ordinary ceremonial purposes. As you can see, I'm wearing a necktie, a shirt, and a pair of pants, which represents a combination of the traditional and the modern, or the East and the West. This is different from how most Jodo Shinshu priests dress in Japan, and is another example of how Buddhism has continued to change from practices in Asia in adapting to the American circumstance. It is this topic, the distinctive American form, that I wish to talk about today. In order to understand this topic, I would like to initially provide a bird's eye view of the development of Buddhism from the time of the Buddha. The beginning of Buddhism, of course, starts with the Buddha, who lived approximately 2,500 years ago, and about whom we will talk about in greater detail later on. Around 260 years later, by the 3rd century before the Common Era, Buddhism, under the support of King Ashoka, spread throughout India and even beyond its borders. It is said that King Ashoka's son, Mahinda, went to Sri Lanka to introduce Buddhism. This was the beginning of the southern branch known as Theravada, or the School of Elders, and today is found mostly in Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. The monks are well known by their saffron or orange-colored robes. The northern branch is called Mahayana, the larger vehicle. It mostly spread by way of the so-called Silk Road through ancient Central Asian kingdoms. And by the 1st century of the Common Era, Buddhism had begun to trickle into China. By the end of the 4th century, Buddhism became a state religion of the Northern Wei Kingdom. Ever since, Buddhism has remained an important pillar in the religious life of China, alongside Confucianism and Taoism. The Chinese then transmitted Buddhism to Vietnam in the 2nd century and to Korea in the 4th century. Then, in the 6th century, Buddhism made its way to Japan from Korea. As for Tibet, Buddhism was introduced directly from India and a little later, around 7th century. Let me now paint a quick picture of Buddhist development in the US, which can be divided into 4 phases. The first phase of the intellectuals began in 1844 when Henry David Thoreau translated a chapter from the Lotus Sutra, one of the most important scriptures, from French into English. He was followed later by people such as Henry Olcott and Paul Carus, both of whom became Buddhists and devoted their lives to propagating Buddhism. The second phase, which overlaps with the first to a great extent, refers to Buddhism brought over by Chinese and Japanese immigrants in the second half of the 1900s, who established numerous temples, mostly on the West Coast, serving as important center of their community life. The third phase refers to the convert Buddhists that began with beat Buddhism in the 1950s, as represented by such individuals as Allen Ginsberg and Gary Snyder. They paved the way for more full-fledged groups of the 60s and 70s, such as the Tibetan institutions founded by Tartan Tulku, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, the San Francisco Zen Center, founded by Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, and Insight Meditation Society, founded by Americans Jack Kornfield, Joseph Goldstein, Sharon Salzberg, and Jacqueline Schwartz. We should also include in this phase the emergence of Soka Gakkai, which succeeded in creating the most ethnically and racially diverse organization. The fourth phase does not lag too far behind the third phase, for it refers to the Buddhists who arrived in this country from the second half of the 1960s from such places as Taiwan, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian countries. The transmission from Asia across the Pacific to the US called for major changes and innovations. The case in point is found in the Jodo Shinshu school. More specifically, on the mainland and in Hawaii, the nationally organized Buddhist Churches of America and the Higashi Honganji, as well as the statewide Honpa Honganji Mission of Hawaii, are the longest continuously run institutions. Within the Jodo Shinshu temples such as these, we find a uniquely American expression of its teachings called the Golden Chain, which, very interestingly, is not known at all in Japan. This golden chain is very often recited together at services. It is probably the most popular and most well-known among the statements of Jodo Shinshu belief. This is especially true among the younger generation. So that you can perhaps understand and feel its meaning, permit me to recite this slowly as follows. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. I would like to briefly explain each line of this golden chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. This line tells us that each of us is part of a set of interconnected relationships that encompasses the whole world and beyond. And the very nature of this interconnectedness is boundless compassion, which is referred to as Amida or Amida Buddha. I would like to point out that the truth of compassion is expressed here as love, which is a more familiar term to Americans. Also, here we cannot help but notice a strong sense of social or spiritual responsibility as he or she vows to do one's part to sustain this golden chain of interconnection by keeping one's link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. Here, a person pledges to treat not only humans, but all living beings with respect, including animals, birds, insects, and fish. There is no mention of the rights of humans to rule over other creatures, but rather humans are to coexist with them. In so doing, one vows to go to the aid of those in need, whether humans or other creatures. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds. In Buddhism, the worth of a person is determined not by birth or one's class, but one's deeds. So our spiritual happiness also depends on how one acts and sees the world, and is not determined by predestination or by chance or by divine beings. We have the ability to determine our happiness through what we think, how we speak, and how we act. May every link in the Amida's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. It concludes with one's concern for the welfare of all others, wishing for all beings to reach the ultimate Buddhist goal of becoming Buddhas or attaining nirvana or enlightenment. This line is rooted in the realization that one cannot be truly happy if others are not also spiritually happy. This is precisely what was being expressed in today's opening passage. I live here and now, not by myself, but along with many other lives. When life, which causes and sustains my existence, achieves happiness, I too will become happy. These are my thoughts and feelings on the Golden Chain, which for me personally has been an inspirational guiding force. Again, our Jodo Shinshu counterparts in Japan have never heard of it. Naturally, the reason for this was that the Golden Chain was composed on American soil, probably in Hawaii, prior to World War II, at a time when openness and optimism flourished. And so, once again, here too is a prime example of a uniquely American form. In our next show, a guest will talk about Engage Buddhism, a movement that seeks to bring the teachings to address social problems and concerns. It promises to be a thought-provoking show, so please be sure to join us once again.
We at Bukkyo Dendo Kyokai pursue peace and happiness for people around the world. We have published the Buddhist teachings into 41 languages and donated our publication to hotels and other facilities in 55 countries. We would like to share the Buddhist teachings with people around the world. That's our mission. Visit our website for more information.